welcome to episode number 43 of the OpTic podcast. Today, my two hostess. Bro, I'm so hungry. I'm literally starving for like some Hostess like powdered donuts. Tell me you wouldn't be down for that, like with a nice coffee, some café abuelita.
I'll try it. I don't know what it is.
I haven't had donuts in such a long time.
Have you ever had Mexican candy, either of you?
No.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna do this for my channel.
Churros is like the
churros. Yeah, it's like a pastry though.
Yeah.
It's not candy that kids eat. Like anyway, welcome back. Thank you for stopping by, boys. We have my man Hypoc and Hetrar. Not to be confused with Hetror or Hector. That's me. I'm Hector.
Yeah.
So just introduce yourselves really quick. Where are you from? Originally, your real name and all that. And obviously, thank you for stopping by, bro.
Okay, yeah. Real name's Michael. I'm from London originally.
What part of London?
North London, so Essex specifically. But
Essex. What's your favorite club?
Favorite club in Essex?
Yeah. No, period. What's your club? Your football club?
Oh, Tottenham. Hotspur.
Tottenham.
Spurs.
All right, what's yours?
Don't hate me for that.
No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so I'll get onto you. I skipped it, but I want to know. Since this is the first time on your podcast, I don't know this question. I need to know like what got you into gaming, and this isn't going to be that podcast. I just need to know this for personal reasons. I should have asked you before, but what got you into games? So it's the first game that you fell in love with. First
game I fell in love with was Unreal Tournament, which a lot of people have or haven't heard of. It's a bit like Quake. It's an arena FPS on the PC. Kind of what got me back into gaming, because I was very into it when I was younger.
Yeah. Like what age? Give me the age groups.
We're talking like 13, 14 when I first
And how old are you now?
I'm 28 now.
Okay.
So I went away and kind of had 7 or 8 years of doing real life stuff.
Yeah, like parties, outdoor stuff.
A lot more boring. Working.
Real work.
Working.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I was a marketing manager for a financial brokerage. So like the most corporate, boring desk job you can imagine.
Yeah.
And then I had a short stint in Overwatch. I went professional in Overwatch for about 6 months or so, and then was one of the teams that kind of got dropped after the Overwatch League announcement. A lot of orgs pulled out of Overwatch when kind of the Tier 2 scene died out.
Yeah.
And that was when I kind of moved to PUBG, started streaming it, and then, had the golden ticket come along.
Nice.
Here I am.
Is that what we are, the golden ticket? My man, I like to hear that, definitely. What about you?
I'm from Maryland. Actually, funny enough.
Your real name is not Hector.
No, it's John. Well, Jonathan, but John, please. It's bad. I'm actually from a place in Maryland called Essex too, which is kind of weird. But,
yeah, it's a bit weird.
I guess
the real Essex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real Essex.
England
mine's the fake one. There's a Sussex
like
right
Birmingham,
by me too.
Alabama, and then they needed to copy Birmingham.
Yeah.
So I'm kidding. I'm obviously kidding.
Weirdly enough, the part my parents are from in England, there's a Boston and New York as well.
Yeah.
And they're like the smallest places. We're talking like 100 people.
Really?
Wait,
yeah.
Did we steal that too?
Wait.
I don't know if we stole that.
How is it New York if we have New York?
Well, but if the
There's already a York, and they made a New York.
Well, we have York and we have New York.
And you have Yorkshire and all that.
Is Yorkshire the same as York?
No. I don't think
York
so.
is in Yorkshire.
Is it?
Because it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't
York
know.
is the city and Yorkshire is the
So,
county.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess my question is, obviously you guys, I mean, you've been in an older country than we have, so I didn't know we stole New York as well, or Boston.
Stole
What about
almost
Tea
everything.
Party? Did we steal that too? Well, no, we didn't.
We have Southampton here as well, though, right? There's a Southampton in the States.
Hampton.
Yeah.
We have, the Hamptons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. We are so unoriginal. Anyway, so sorry to interrupt.
I guess for how I started, I'm Call of Duty basically, but I didn't really play Call of Duty much on console. I started with the first Call of Duty on PC when I was 11, and I played Call of Duty probably up until, I don't know, five years ago, mainly.
Really? What game? Which ones?
I think my most played was Modern Warfare 2.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
Or there's rumors that it's coming back, but
Leaks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I played a lot of hardcore in Call of Duty.
Did you play on PC or
On PC?
Oh,
yeah.
PC. Yeah.
I'm not much of a console person.
No. Do you think Call of Duty would have been better off on PC than it is on console?
I'm not sure.
From your professional, you know.
I mean,
I mean-
I think Call of Duty on the PC was always very linear.
Yeah.
And like CSGO Counter-Strike in general just always did it better. I think it's actually more entertaining to watch on console than it ever was on PC.
Really? I don't know, man. I disagree. I think that if we would have been able to keep Call of Duty 4 as the competitive mode throughout the years, no matter what the new one is.
COD 4 Pro Mode was the closest it
Pro
came
mode,
to
yeah.
being
That's what I
kind
mean.
of. But I just still think like the gameplay was so linear. Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot more.
It looks way better, bro. Come on. In my personal opinion, and I'm not talking about any other game besides Call of Duty Pro Mod. You know,
I just think the aiming mechanics of COD 4 on the PC, like the skill gap was just, it just didn't produce kind of you stand like, even if you look back at like early Dignitas and like COD 4 Pro Mod on the PC, they were absolutely nuts at it. But
yeah.
there was such little difference between the top players, and like the gameplay was just stale. I think it was,
Really,
yeah.
I found it exciting because I couldn't hit the majority of their shots. But you know, I think from a competitive standpoint, being a 5v5 game or seeing Call of Duty played in a 5v5 game was like super like awesome. Anyway, so you played COD 4 and then you moved on to what?
Yeah, I was never competitive in Call of Duty really. My most competitive game would be like Overwatch during seasons 1 and 2. I was like semi-pro, but nothing big before Pubg.
And then
this.
the battle
which
royale
is
just
amazing.
got in your veins.
Yeah. Pubg, I played a lot of Arma and stuff on PC, if you know what Arma is.
I do. I played it.
And DayZ and all that. So, like, the transition from Arma to Pubg was pretty easy. And, like, Pubg is exactly what I wanted out of a game, basically.
Yeah. You know, I had this conversation earlier in a podcast that I did with Deserto where you know, the question arose of, you know, how do you spectate, you know, 100 people dropping in a map? I mean, obviously right now it's 20 teams with us 80 people.
Well, it's even 16 now.
Yeah.
16 is becoming the kind of the standard now for further up.
When you say 16 teams?
16 teams,
Okay.
yeah.
So
64 players total.
everybody in the community thinks that just 16 is so much better because with 20, it's just a lot more. Everywhere you go, there's gonna be somebody, and it leaves a lot less to like not tactically, but like strategically, like where to move and like what to take, because it's just super flooded with 16 or with 20 teams.
With 20 teams, I don't know. I mean, I think for me personally, and I don't know Jack about, you know, the competitive scene in PUBG besides being a spectator. But you know, having said that, with, you know, dropping it from 20 to 16, how do you still spectate that in your opinion as a player? Because, you know, a lot of people are going to listen to this, and maybe somebody that you know.
I mean, it's even just in numbers, it's obviously easier to follow 16 teams because there's 4 less to follow early game and whatnot. But I mean, even with the problems that, you know, observers have had in PUBG, it kind of draws away from you. Early game, all you want to be looking at is kind of who's going to be set up best for the first circle, kind of, and really story building where they've come from. If just in case that team is still in late game, you can literally build that story start to finish.
Yeah.
And just having fewer teams obviously makes that 10 times easier, but also it makes it easier to see how they interact with the other teams. So say, for example, you've got a team that drops. I mean, even with North Georgia is a good example, and then South Georgia, and then you've got Crates, and then you've got, you know, south of that West Coast and whatnot. So if you look at the 5 or 6 teams maybe that occupy that, you can actually monitor how they kind of cross paths throughout the game a lot easier. So I think that the key for kind of watching PUBG comes down to, you know, potentially there's 16 teams in there with huge followings that obviously not everybody's going to be interested in seeing what, I mean, OpTic fans aren't going to be interested in seeing what Tempo do from the start of the game and whatnot.
Yeah.
So having that ability to kind of chop and change between definitely makes it more appealing. Kind of viewers aren't going to kind of turn off after 5 minutes if they don't see their favourite player's name up on the kill feed or watching them live, so to say. But it's definitely made it a lot better in terms of there's a lot less RNG with the first and second circle with fewer teams. So there's not as many, you know, you just get unlucky with the first circle and there's a team holding you out. Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask you this from a competitive standpoint. You know, it's easy to say, you know, it's easy to predict what an audience is going to do, but it's going to be up to the audience as to how to watch. When I was spectating, I'm like, I was thinking that I'm like, oh, I want to see my boys play. You know, like I was watching these other players play, and I already know what they got, and the fact that they're looking around and not really like moving. as a spectator, and again, limited spectating, I think it's a tiny bit too slow in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys feel like it's perfect right now, or do you think that there's room to make it maybe 2 seconds faster?
I mean, I don't know. There's always like adjusting circle settings that can change how long like the downtime is between circles and all that.
Yeah.
But I think with the competitive community, we've kind of made changes where the circles move earlier, but they move slower. So you still have to move early, but you don't have to move as quickly and just like jump into something that you don't have time to think about.
Yeah, because what used to happen around kind of Circle 4 was that shift was kind of the most important in terms of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there would be teams literally commit as soon as that circle appears. That would maybe,
blindly.
Yeah, blindly commit as soon as that happens. Then you had the other, even if you look at it as a 50-50 of teams that were outside of the circle, half of them would move early. And you're talking about, 3 or 4 teams moving at the same time. And then the other half would move late with the circle. So trying to keep track of those 3 or 4 teams that are moving early, and then potentially the 2 or 3 teams that they're going to encounter moving early into the circle, and it's just it became a bit of a lottery really as to what you were going to see from the observer's point of view.
Yeah.
You just had to be right place, right time.
Right. From a lottery, you said a lot of people, bringing luck into this thing like that. Has that affected you at any point? Have you landed somewhere and been like, we don't have shit? And then somebody else lands somewhere else, and they just get super, super like blessed. And
the day one of IEM is the best example we can give. The game one of IEM on the first day, the circle that popped was probably the worst circle for us. So we obviously land North George. We pretty much land there exclusively unless there's a really bad plane and we think it's more beneficial to go elsewhere. But we landed North George and the circle's over. Like the military base on the east side, so towards Novo.
The furthest circle it could have popped.
Yeah, literally
possible.
The worst possible circle we could have seen. And looking at that, like it's
like, oh, well, we're going to do bad this game. We kind of have to salvage. But then we got first place that game. That was one of the games that we won. So, I mean, there are some times where it's kind of like RNG, but then there's other times where, like, if you make smart decisions, you can still win.
Yeah, if you make smart decisions, the reason you're dying or getting wiped isn't because of the circle. It's because of the decision you made to try and counteract that RNG factor. Because it's always going to be there. And the teams that do consistently well in PUBG are the ones that strategize around, we've been circle shafted, we've got to do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to put us in a bad position. And there are teams that can recover from that and consistently do recover from that.
Every single conversation that pops out online about whether Battle Royale could ever be competitive, I always say yes, but there's like this big elephant in the room that's called luck, and unless I made this like all the same analogy all the time. Is like what happens? Not an analogy, comparison. What happens if the best team on the server lands in your position, and then your literal neighboring guys, just got the god drops. No matter how good you are, you're gonna get demolished because they have weapons, you do not.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, and that's not, from a competitive standpoint, that's not fair. That can never be fair. Personally.
Well, interestingly enough, so this is the way I've always seen it, and it's very hard to be invested in PUBG on a game-to-game basis. So if you play a best-of-3 series online, like 2 games out of 3, we could get trash loot, really bad circles, and it just doesn't go well. Yeah. Now, if you look at that from somebody that's tuned in to watch us, games 1 and 2, they're like, well, cool, I'm not invested anymore. See you later.
Yeah.
Star Ladder have actually kind of they're starting to lean towards the right scoring format and having a best of 20 series.
Give me the right scoring format in your opinion.
I mean, for me, it needs to be not top heavy, but still reward kills. Just something that makes it more consistent over a longer series. So doing it, even IEM best of 8, there are still teams that 5 games out of 8 they had no circle luck and they didn't have good loot, and they were forced into a position where they had to salvage. Yeah. Now it's not really a fair demonstration of that team's abilities, I would say. Like, I mean, FaZe is a really good example. Yeah. FaZe are one of the most consistently, like, in terms of winning gunfights, one of the most consistent teams in Europe. Yeah, in the world, I'd say. Game 1, they just had a rough day. Like, rough circles, put in bad spots, and they ended up, I think, what were they, 11th after day 1?
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
So coming into day 2...
Placed badly.
Yeah.
not
coming
pretty
into day
bad.
2, they did what everybody expected, which was they ended up 4th overall. And there were other teams that dropped down that arguably had better circumstances, better circles, better loot, and that's what I think is so appealing to me personally. It's so appealing about PUBG because it's the teams that consistently perform well.
Yeah.
Even when you look at them and go, oh, they're absolutely screwed. They're screwed. And
one thing that I want to see in point systems is, I don't think there should be as much of a point difference as there is between first and second place. Mm-hmm. Because as much as you hate to say it, a lot of the time, like I think the hardest part in this game is getting to like a top 5, basically. Being top 5 in like each individual game, like being at the end.
Yeah.
But in the really late circles when it's like one team versus one team, I'm not going to say most of the time, but quite a bit of the time, it's just who gets the better circle for the position that they're in that wins that game.
Yeah.
So
again, see, getting a circle doesn't translate for me in terms of skill and competitive, right? So as an outsider, I see this and I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, if I was to make this, and obviously, again, I am completely mindful of the fact that if you take luck away from it, it's no longer a battle royale and it's no longer a survival of the fittest type scenario, right? It takes away strategy, it takes away it damages the game, but how much is my question essentially in this next point. Do you think there should be set landing zones and maybe like a set ending like end zone? Now, following to that and taking a step further, what if there was picks and bans, at the beginning where, what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Is that something? Playing devil's advocate here.
How could, like, what would the picks and bans be? Like circle location ending or something like that?
I don't know.
Like you could ban
Helsinki, for example, so I'd be like, no, it's too much loot. You can't land there.
I mean, one of the biggest ones for me is kind of finding the balance between what's the right circle centralization late game. So the worst thing to see in PUBG is to see like Far East Coast, and then it just extreme shifts all the way to the west. Because everybody that centralizes first and second, they end up getting shafted. It actually rewards the teams that rotate in late more because they're coming in like later circles and the circle just goes away. So by like circle 3 and 4, what I'd like to see is some kind of centralization where the teams are positioned early aren't getting completely circle shafted out of the game. But again, a lot of people are saying that circle centralization removes
it does. It removes the element. And I think one of the beauties of PUBG and its concept, it's that it's just like life. Sometimes you're gonna get it good, and sometimes you're not gonna get it good, and it's up to you to like transcend your current state and position in the map and in the server, right? Just like life, right? If this was a real life thing, reality is not gonna allow you to pick and choose. Hey, let's do it like this. Yeah. The fact that everything, circles, loots, bombs, right? Like cars, vehicles, like the whole nine, like plays into this very beautiful game that is a battle royale, right? So again, playing devil's advocate, I had to ask that question because, if we do that, how much of the endemic gameplay do we take away from that without, what I'm saying?
I think that, the problem comes from the closer you move towards just kind of a first-person shooter, and it would lose its appeal because I think the whole story building with PUBG, you don't really get it with any other game.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, part of the appeal. So seeing a team kind of slug it out and fight, I mean, I don't like referencing it back, but Game 8 for us for IEM was kind of... It was a bit of a weird one because we had a lot of things that needed to fall into place for us to potentially win that. And a Vanguard going out first, then obviously we started playing very differently. And like you just don't get that dynamic with other games where it's like, I mean, with CSGO, it's A versus B. And eventually, one comes out on top.
I mean, I think the survival of the fittest thing where a team can be in a bad position, they get screwed, but like... seeing that team then go on and like win a fight that they shouldn't win and things like that is part of the appeal of the game.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it might not be fair to that team in that like they got screwed by circle or whatever, but like the outplay ability is still there, and it makes for good stories.
What about like landing with all, like everybody lands with the same weapon, with the same health, with the same like that? Again, what can PUBG do to truly make it a competitive, because anybody can compete in anything. You know what I'm saying? I can sit here and compete against you as to who can hold their breath longer. So you can make anything a competition. I get that. The beauty about Battle Royale is because the luck element, but the luck element also takes away from the true competitive nature of what it is.
Yeah.
So sample sizing throughout a tournament, sure, I get it. But you know, what can, in your opinion, your professional opinion, what do you think is something that we should be, you know, doing?
I mean, you can look at it as kind of, everybody drops and they've all got level 1 gear, or they all have access to a vehicle. One of the interesting ones I read on, I think it was Reddit a couple of weeks back, was reintroducing the hard spawn. So back in early days of PUBG, there used to be guaranteed car spawns.
Yeah, in certain garages.
Certain areas of the map, they would guaranteed at the start of the game, and you'd get these really interesting fights where people would drop for the same car, like 2 or 3 different teams drop for the same car, and there would be this, one guy gets the car and tries to run other people over. But kind of removing the early game RNG in terms of loot and positioning and stuff, because I don't think it's...
When you say RNG, for those who don't know...
so the RNG factor is random number generator. So basically just the randomness of circles and loot and car spawns as well.
Yeah.
But removing as much of the early game RNG so that it then becomes more of a level playing field. You know, if I land North George and I'm uncontested, I should get the same, in theory, the same options of loot as somebody that lands Yasnaya early and isn't contested.
Yeah.
Whereas if somebody drops and contests us in North George, actually we've both got access to guns. So it doesn't become this one team gets guns in one city and the other team doesn't. It becomes more of a, if somebody drops and contests you, there's going to be a fight that's level playing field. So it then comes down to which team strategizes to wipe the other best, as opposed to this team got assault rifles and the other guys are running around with shotguns.
Yeah.
So that kind of removes a lot of the, well, that team just got wiped because they were unlucky. Like that, nobody wants to see that. It would rather be, you know, this team completely outplayed the other, and you know they hit their shots and the other team whiffed, and that should be the reason that somebody wins a fight, not he dropped and got an AK and the other guy got a pistol.
Yeah.
That should never be the reason that somebody's eliminated, because it's not competitive. Right. So I think a lot of
how many tune dials can you do?
Like once you do that, then it kind of eliminates like a lot of the whole point of the start of the game and dropping from the plane and stuff like that. So
look, the beauty about this...
You'd have to change, everything.
The beauty about this is that we don't... I mean, this is just a conversation, and obviously they don't have to do it. They can leave it as is, and people are still going to watch because that is the game that they like.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And the fact that there's this, luck...
And we'll still play it.
But I do agree with that, you know, having set spawns for cars or, you know, so maybe certain, you know, ARs or whatever is kind of intriguing. You know, you're not going too far away from the luck factor, because you know the circles are still there. Maybe certain loot is not there. I think that you know, fine tuning it at least a tiny little bit would improve the spectator, because like you said, if somebody lands for the same car and then you know they win and grab the car and they know they're gonna go over here for the loot, a team has already landed there. That's like, again, you know, it makes it exciting. Now, do you think it's too slow right now?
I think early game probably is.
Yeah.
But
what I'd like to see, and especially through circles 1 and 3. Is maybe cutting 10 minutes between that. So whether that's twice as many circles, twice as quick, or just having those 3 circles and there's a shorter period of time in between them, so that it forces everybody into the right area of the map. And within those first 10 minutes of a game, you've got 5 minutes of looting, and then it's 5 minutes of potentially rotating in and getting compounds and fighting, because there's kind of this 16 teams live until the 4th circle. Yeah. And not a lot goes on between that, and if it does, it's usually missed. Yeah, especially on streams. Like if a team loses 2 or 3 people, and that last person has to resort to either snaking or sitting in a shack, you miss out on those things. Yeah,
what if? We'll go ahead. Did you have a point?
I mean, one thing that could help that is, for example, in IEM in Katowice, I think they had like 15 observers. Was it 15 observers? One thing that would help a lot like if PUBG adds some sort of like auto observer thing that follows around each individual team, so and then you could watch whatever team you want to watch, and that would also allow them to basically have replays of everything that happens. So even if they miss it on the main stream or whatever when they're going around, they can be like, okay, let's just get the past 30 seconds from OpTic's observer, and then they can see what happened.
That was going to be my suggestion. So it's not going to sound as genius as it would have been if you didn't. Anyway, So no, that's good. That's what I was going. So gladly we're on the same page. And what this means is that somebody else is already thinking about it, especially from a production standpoint. What if the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes or the slowest beginning there is a recording session that happens for each individual team, and the casters and analysts are having this 10-minute long conversation, and then it's like, all right, we're about to jump in, we're in this fourth circle, this is what's happened so far, and then those 5 minutes leading up to the circle is a highlight of every single team, how one died, how that, and they commentate over it. This is what happened. They being fed the information through that. This edited version of the first 10 minutes has already been put into an exciting thing, and then here we go. The last 15 or 20 minutes that is action-packed begins with, like, on the third circle, fourth circle. How many circles are there?
Well, there's 8 in total, isn't there?
Yeah, until the very last.
Until the last, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I think that would be... I think that'd be a way to get around it, where it's, from a spectator point, it's like, you can watch them live. That's the other thing, right? If you... And this is the problem, because you would literally have to have 16 streams going on at once, where you can pick and choose which one you want. Maybe somebody out there has already thought about this, and the app is already being made. Okay.
Well,
that's what I was like. Maybe it requires something from like Twitch, where there's one channel, but you can switch between different viewpoints or something
like tabs.
Basically.
They did it in Korea, so they didn't do it particularly well.
Yeah.
But they had the main event stream, and then each player's perspective was streamed, and they didn't really advertise that. I think it was more to do with recording purposes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But for example, you could, if you were watching the main event, you could pull up our stream and see our individual point of view and follow us from, if you wanted to, from the second we leave the plane to the second we die or win.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was a reason it wasn't kind of promoted as well. But
I mean, maybe it was, but it just, to the English audience, it wasn't very important.
We only found out after game 2 or 3 on the main event day that like they were streaming that live.
Yeah.
Now that again, if you've got 5,000 people that are literally tuning in to watch their team perform at IEM, they're not going to want to sit and watch. And like you said, with the highlight reel thing, that would be absolutely great in the first 15 minutes or so. But again, there would be a lot of stuff like early game rotations and things like that you would miss out on. That's not necessarily people killing each other.
Yes.
Somebody,
let's say a full team.
But it's finding the balance between that and just having nothing. And
Now, I will say this, seeing, the stage at IEM, not the stage, but the setting for IEM and then Star Ladder. I mean, that to me is super, super interesting, because you're creating this like sort of immersive experience both for the players and for the spectators, and then for the viewers at home, because we see that and we're like, oh man, that looks incredible.
Yeah.
So how was your experience like at events? How is it? Do you guys have like green rooms? Like, do they, from a league standpoint, do they do a good job at treating the players well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
think so.
I was actually really impressed by the Katowice setup. Just seeing what they did at Oakland was kind of looked like a
shanty town kind of.
Yeah, it looked like they just kind of set up a LAN party.
Yeah,
and then
there were just booths for each team and stuff. And
then the Katowice stage was definitely a step up, where it's like actually a stage.
Well, they didn't actually show it much on the stream, and I was surprised really why they didn't. But the crowd went back further than the seating, so like the whole arena, kind of the two levels that they had. It was quite interesting to see, because obviously you had there was a load of people that showed up to support TSM, Noble, a couple of the other, like Cloud9. There was quite a lot of people wearing Cloud9 and stuff. But seeing that as well, kind of having different parts of the crowd kind of making noise when stuff happened, that was really cool as well. And especially when we had the chance to kind of come back and watch some of the games play out from behind the audience. I think they went the right way with it, coming from Oakland, where I mean, they made a number of different mistakes with Oakland running at the same time as the CSGO and a couple of other things, but
Yeah.
that was the first time that there was kind of the audience factor as opposed to it just being Twitch chat. So hearing people kind of like, I mean, even people going crazy in the last game when we were kind of rolling through people, we had a load of people come and stand in front of our booth and whatnot.
I think
it's Starlighter, I think, have kind of taken a step.
Yeah, Starlighter went the other
even
way.
though the set's amazing. But.
Starlighter's set is pretty awesome, but they don't have an audience, which I think with the amount of teams that are there, the audience factor is like that much better. Because like obviously you're going to need a big stage for all the teams, and then the audience is going to sit where they want to sit to watch their team, basically.
And I think that's where esports will eventually get it right. Right now, the spectating, from a live event perspective, is a little bit, not where it should be, because oftentimes what happens is that you're spectating, even if you stand behind the team that you're with, you can only see their screens, and at that point, how long is it before some dummy flips, trips over the court or something? Did that happen?
Wait, did
Me,
you do that?
day one. Don't you remember? I switched the power back.
Oh yeah. That, luckily, that was during one of the practice games, but he hit the switch on the
So
power
basically,
strip.
I had the power bank literally underneath my left foot.
Yeah.
And I think during game, I can't remember what happened.
Well, that's a rookie mistake because that has happened millions of times during and not during actual live gameplay. That should never ever be a thing. Like take the extra effort.
Well, I made them tape it to the bottom of the desk so that it didn't happen again. But,
No, of course it's. I mean, you're concentrated. You don't know. The one facial expressions that you make when you're in a deep fight that you want to win. That's you can't control that.
Yeah.
Same thing with your all body movements, right? Like if you're stepping forward, you just don't know. So that's a rookie mistake.
Well, I have a leg jangle when I'm playing.
You do?
My right.
Yeah.
It's called RLS.
RLS.
Restless leg
LRS. Restless. Yeah. RLS. Restless leg syndrome.
That's me.
You can take a pill to make that stop, but you're going to be peeing blood and tearing up blood. So it's pick one, choose one.
Is that real?
Crying blood.
Yeah.
Does that actually happen?
No, but it's like
Sounds real. What the hell?
So, no, it's not real, but it's something along that, like and we're jumping like completely, super far right now, right? But I just late night you'll get these like these medicine commercials where you're like. This will make your heart beat, right? But at the same
they say
time,
the possible side effects really, really fast.
yeah, it's like thoughts of suicide may occur. Right there, you should be like, all right.
It's not for me.
Maybe not.
Not for me. Yeah. So it's the same thing. Like it'll do that. It's just the weirdest thing. All right. Not to a more topic in the battle royale game. Obviously, you've seen the heavy decline of H1Z1 when PUBG came about, right? The PUBG it was H1, then PUBG took over, and then right now we're going through the same thing with Fortnite. From your perspective, do you think the obviously from in my opinion you guys will be like really good at playing and did you guys play H1 ever?
I didn't really play.
I played a lot of H1, but Battle Royale from the start, and even.
And how good were you at that?
I'd say given the time, I was confident I could have gone pro in H1.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't put many hours into H1 because I don't know. I didn't like the arcadiness of it, I guess.
Yeah.
But
so you hate Fortnite then?
I mean, I don't know. Like I enjoy playing Fortnite casually.
Yeah.
I don't.
But for me, Fortnite's an interesting one because the worst part about PUBG is if you get absolutely shafted by the circle and you have no option but to run across an open field. Fortnite introduces this dynamic where if you're good at building, you can build yourself out of a situation where you should be dead.
Launch pads.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you a mechanic to counter the RNG. Yeah. And we haven't seen it in a competitive setting yet.
It's still RNG getting those things, though.
Yeah.
Getting like a jump pad or...
Yeah.
But you can build yourself out of most situations where you should die. And this
is true.
That's a dynamic that I really like.
Yeah.
I really like.
That is true. And again, we go from H1 to PUBG, and then PUBG right now, like the community has it. And I've always been a big supporter of the fact that as long as content creators are creating content for a specific game, that game will succeed.
Yep.
If you look at early Call of Duty, the reason that it became so big is because it was cyclical, and we knew that the same amount of people that were creating content that would eventually run out of content, which is impossible. They eventually ran out of content. A new game came out. That means that you can talk about new guns, new everything, and it will continue to have this sort of interest. Everything, right? I think right now with for example, H1 and PUBG, I think the reason that it became as big and popular as it did is because you had people like Dr. Disrespect, Shroud, and Summit, and was the I don't want to leave anybody out, but
Ninja.
Ninja. Well, Ninja with Fortnite. Yeah, exactly. But talking about PUBG specifically, when the doc was there, when he came about, it became a popular game because everybody was watching, and as such, it became this thing was like, I can do that, or I want to do that, or like I like watching that, but I like playing it more. I'm actually gonna play while I watch. I'm gonna play and try to get into a stream. So this sort of storm that happened, elevated PUBG to a more popular than H1. And H1 is trying to make their way back and climb the ranks and get their way back. But they had it right. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. There has to been a reason as to why they didn't evolve as quickly as they should have when they saw their audience.
It was PlayerUnknown stepping away from the developer team.
Right.
So
yeah, possibly
they just lost their
North Star.
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay, well then fine. Let's say PlayerUnknown steps away from that. Who stepped away from PlayerUnknown to allow, this afterthought of Epic Games, because it was like they have Save the World, and then somebody somewhere said, you know what, this would be a really, really cool Battle Royale game. And then all of a sudden, boom. And I'm talking about a perfect storm of just awesome, okay? Because I guess the RNG, which is now I know, it's not that bad in that, sometimes you land in a house and the chest is there, and if it's not there, guess what? It's behind the door. So you'll always end up with something to fight with, if you look hard enough. If not, you can chop down wood and build your way out to safety until you can get into a position where you can defend yourself. But I think that what has made this game what it is the goofy abilities that take skill to do, right? The goofy ability to build takes an immense amount of skill to do, right? Just recently, impulse grenades. The fact that you can run away faster because you can throw it on the ground and you can get away faster if you don't want to fight.
Yeah.
What was it, a boogie ball or the disco ball or whatever it is?
Boogie bomb.
Yeah, the boogie
that
bomb.
thing earlier.
Everything about it. They've done a lot of things. They've done everything right, in my opinion.
I think that's one of the reasons why it's so popular. It's like PUBG isn't really like young people friendly, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Fortnite 100% is.
Well, it appeals to both sides, whereas PUBG just appeals to the realism.
It's a perfect storm, boys. Because look, you have obviously what we just discussed, but then on top of that, you have the cross-platform, game. Your ability to play with somebody who has a PlayStation from a PC, and then we'll take it the step further. And my main point is that right now Ninja is reaching, achievements that nobody else in the history of Twitch has done, and as such is elevating other people in the same thing, and it's just creating this perfect storm of just like eyeballs just staring at this, whether they're playing it, whether they're watching it, or whether they're on Twitter or Facebook. You can't go anywhere. Rejuvenator, it's a shoe cleaning service, took a picture of Jordans with Fortnite in the background. You cannot get away from Fortnite. It's everywhere. Now, having talked and I enjoy playing it obviously and all that. What do you think that has to do with the fact that PUBG doesn't have as many players and as many eyeballs on it as it did? Is the same thing? And you guys obviously you guys are professionals, so you guys can be biased. Do you think that Fortnite is doing to PUBG what PUBG did to H1?
I haven't looked at PUBG's like player numbers recently. Have you?
The highest has kind of peaked in the last 2 months. I think it's like 1.7 concurrent. I think Fortnite is still
super
all over that.
Yeah.
Daily. For me, the biggest thing, so a game's longevity, if you like, comes from appealing to your daily gamers, not just your professional competitive scene. And what PUBG's really lacked, and everybody's complained about it, is, well, it's two big things. So one of them is kind of the game-breaking bugs that the development team just haven't addressed quickly enough, and then the kind of incentive to play on a day-to-day basis. So not having any form of matchmaking in PUBG, where there's a big variance between. And I think Fortnite it's a bit different because the skill gap is kind of, there's a shadow cast over it by the different mechanics that are at your disposal. So with PUBG, it's there's no real reason to play public games. There's no incentive to keep playing.
Right.
So whilst it was fresh and people were enjoying the game, it was, I'm going to log on because the game's fun. And then eventually that factor kind of isn't there. So the players that want to keep playing it don't have any incentive to keep playing it.
Yeah, there's no progression at all.
There's no. I mean, even with like the cosmetics and stuff in game, you don't get them by playing more.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to say that I've got 2,000 hours in PUBG. What have I achieved?
Yeah.
If
you
if I wasn't
don't earn
here,
anything.
Yeah. If I wasn't here doing what I'm doing today, what have I achieved? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a big factor for kind of the day to day, and especially when you look at player count and whatnot, and why it's kind of dwindled. I think just Fortnite are just doing a better job at the minute of promoting the game and making it more appealing for the kind of pick up and play factor. But, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. You never liked playing PUBG, did you?
No, I played it too slow. Yeah.
And the big thing for Fortnite is you can drop, be looted within 60 seconds and go and fight. PUBG, it's so rare that you can drop to 1 or 2 buildings and be in a position where you go, right, cool, I'm going to fight now.
Yeah. Well, that and the fact that PUBG, I was just... I didn't get in enough fights to understand the weapon recoil. That was a huge thing to me. And I would say when I would stream it, I'm like, why can't I just jump into a free-for-all game where I'm just shooting guns so I can get to know these guns? So when I pick it up, I feel so confident that I will challenge when I don't need to, when I do like dumb things, right? Yep. That and the fact that if I died, do you know how long it would take me to get back into a match?
Yeah. You're talking 3 to 4 minutes.
3 to 4 minutes, bro.
With Fortnite, you can get back in 30 seconds.
30
you can
seconds.
Drop again, fight, and then do
exactly
rinse
that,
and
man.
repeat.
Exactly that. I just think they created this like perfect storm that just like benefited everybody involved, from talent to players, and I don't think it needs to be an esport. Leave it the fudge alone. Let it be what it is. If somebody wants to throw a competitive thing, sure. But I don't think that, like a game like this with the recipe so perfect like that people are already spectating. Like, sure, if you don't want to make it into an esport and have the true top of the top play it, sure, absolutely, do it. But to force it to be an esport, like, there's no need for it. Like, it already has spectators. It's doing amazing. Everyone's having fun.
But isn't the interesting thing with Fortnite? I don't know if this is kind of public or not. I might be leaking, but the higher ups in Epic are saying they want to push it for Fortnite, and actually it's the development team and the community management team that are saying, no, this is how we view this game, and it's doing exactly what it needs to do right now.
Yeah, bro, it's the same thing. It's the same conversation I have with everyone. Say, yeah, but it can never be like an esport because of them. Who cares? Why do we have this need as esports community to want to turn everything into esports?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, can it just be competitive and fun without having this like professional like? If they want to, sure, I'll welcome it. We'll pick up a team, sure. Oh, actually, we'll just use you guys. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely not Bahawaka, okay? Because Jesus, that guy walks into. There's a trap in there. Oh, is there? So he walks in there. I just think that having the personalities and the amount of people, like everyone playing it and streaming it and creating content around it.
See, it's interesting. And what PUBG did a couple of times was they had these big streamer events. And I think that with Fortnite would just be fantastic.
Yeah.
Would be absolutely fantastic. And the recipe never really fit with PUBG, where if you look at kind of Gamescom last year, where the whole stigma of that event was, it was a streamer event and it didn't matter. Yeah. Whereas, I don't care what anyone says, if you get 64 of the biggest Fortnite streamers and chuck them in, that will be entertaining to watch. Of course.
Yeah, influencers will continue to run this world for here until the rest of something else. And that's why, again, I'm proud of the fact that, here at OpTic, we've been able to create like this perfect hybrid between, professional players that have turned into personalities. And that's what I think has always given us the leg up, right? So, anyway. Do you guys have any closing comments? I don't have any more questions. I think that we've covered it all, and more than anything, I think that I had fun having this conversation.
Yeah, it's good to talk about it.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk to somebody that says diehard Fortnite and hear your dynamic on the watching PUBG thing, because it's one that you don't really get an accurate representation of. So
yeah, look, I consider myself a casual player above anything else. A casual player that creates content above anything else. And no other game besides Minecraft has ever taken me away from Call of Duty, ever, in any of the years. I've been playing Call of Duty since 2005 or 6, all right? And since then, that's the only game I've ever played. I'm hard-headed. I don't play Madden. I don't play any, not because they're bad games. It just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
This game, Fortnite, just like completely engulfed my attention and my want. I think about it constantly. I'll go a week without playing it and still be thinking about it, watching it. So
You get withdrawals.
yeah. So I think that's again like part of the perfect beauty of it is that happened, because I never played Destiny. I never played H1 series. I never played PUBG 2 series. Just, again, too slow for me. I'm an action guy, you know. So allow me to be the best that I can be. God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty much what it boils down to. Any closing comments that you guys have?
No.
I'm definitely gonna have you guys again.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation. We'll continue to talk, and we'll continue to see how the Battle Royale esports genre evolves. And hopefully we can, next time you guys are on here, we can talk about nice little championships that you guys brought home.
Yeah.
And it'll be sitting right there with where the gears were. Yeah.
I mean, the PUBG ones are like 4 little trophies right now.
Yeah.
But
Well, they should.
We haven't caught up with the glam yet. Of the
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they should make one big one for the org.
a giant pan.
Yeah. A
Something
pan?
like that. Yeah.
Something we can
No, the
play.
level 3 helmet, surely.
Or-
Yes, that'd
Yeah.
be sick. Yeah, you know what they should do? They should put MLG in charge of the trophies, because the MLG has
made the best, right?
Yeah.
They make Let me refer. MLG has made two amazing trophies. The Star Wars, the Starcraft trophy,
Yeah, yeah.
which was like the 3 blades sticking up. That was amazing. And then the CS:GO one with the
Yes.
Karambit, the Karambit's holding up the trophy.
Yeah.
Aside from that, they're trash. Okay, these little tall glass trophies, we have a lot of them. Okay, there's no variety, MLG, and don't give us the cups. Okay, aside from that, Adam, if you're watching, Pete, if you're watching, put more effort into the way that you did with CS:GO.
Or just MLG host a PUBG event, right?
Or MLG post or have a PUBG event. That'd be disgusting. I'm all for that. Anyway, that's going to do it for us for this episode of the OpTic Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Don't leave without leaving a like. Thank you for the support. Boys, thank you for stopping by. We'll see you guys next time, hopefully with the championship. Having said that, we'll see you on the next one. Hit them with the music.